You're standing at the front of the room, or maybe you're at your desk hitting send, and the thing you've been working on is now out in the world. Someone comes up to you afterward and says, "It was great." You say thank you because that's what you do, and the moment passes. But inside, something else is happening. You're not feeling proud, you're feeling distance, running through the parts that almost fell apart, the patch you threw in at the last minute, the question you were dreading that nobody asked. It doesn't feel like you got away with something exactly. It feels more like you're watching someone else's highlight reel and you happen to know where the editing cuts are. If this happened once, you could call it humility. But it doesn't happen once. It's a pattern. Feedback comes in and your mind immediately scans for what they missed. A door opens and before excitement shows up, a quick internal audit runs in the background, returning the same result it always returns: borderline. Someone treats you as the authority on something, and a quiet voice notes that they don't know how much you're still figuring out as you stumble through it. These feel like small, private moments of honesty. Seen together, they form a machine that processes every win, every compliment, every opportunity through a single filter. Not quite enough. And here's the part that makes this hard to untangle. You likely value this machine. You might call it self-awareness, or high standards, or the thing that keeps you from getting lazy. If you're honest, the idea of turning it off is unsettling. There's a quiet fear, one that rarely gets said out loud, that if you stop doubting yourself, you'd become complacent, arrogant, the person in the meeting who talks with unearned certainty and doesn't see their own blind spots. So the self-criticism gets woven into your identity as protection. It doesn't feel like insecurity. It feels like integrity. But the cost is real. The same machine that pushes you to improve also makes it structurally impossible to arrive anywhere. Every achievement gets metabolized so fast that by the time you've finished one thing, the internal scoreboard has already shifted the goalposts. You don't get the pause. You don't get the moment of arrival. And the terrifying possibility, the one you might have been avoiding, is that you actually are as competent as people think. And the real challenge isn't proving yourself. It's accepting that there might be nothing left to prove. That the feeling of not enoughness is not a signal about your capacity, but a feature of the instrument you're using to measure it. So the question shifts. Not how do I fix my lack of confidence, but what kind of instrument am I using and what is it actually measuring? This is where the reversal comes into focus. The problem isn't that your self-assessment is faulty because you underestimate your worth. The problem is that your internal instrument is calibrated to a level of granularity most people don't operate at. When others look at a finished piece of work and see something complete, you see the micro gaps, the trade-offs, the invisible patches holding the structure together. When others feel they've learned a topic, you can see the enormous territory you haven't touched. It's not that you're broken, it's that you have a high-resolution sensor. You're picking up textures and imperfections that lower-resolution systems blur out automatically. And then, you're doing something with that data that doesn't follow from the data itself. Treating a detailed map of your limitations as a verdict on your legitimacy. The reason this feeling carries so much authority is that what it points to is real. You really did see that flaw. You really are aware of that gap. So the internal conclusion feels airtight. If I can see it, it must matter. If it matters, I must not be ready. But that conclusion isn't logic. It's a habit wearing logic's clothes. The gap is real. The meaning you assign to the gap, that it disqualifies you, that it means you're not ready, that everyone else must not have these gaps. That part is not real. It's a story the instrument generates because it was never trained to do anything but scan for what's missing. The instrument is accurate. The story it tells you about what the readings mean is not. This is not an argument for lowering your standards. You can still care. You can still pursue depth. But you need to see the difference between the pursuit and the punishment. High standards let you sit down after a hard climb and catch your breath before the next one. This machine doesn't let you sit at all. It reads rest as complacency. That's not discipline. That's a perpetually hungry evaluation loop that has mistaken itself for a conscience. You can separate them. You can stay committed without staying trapped inside a system that will never, by design, return a verdict of enough. When the familiar sensation comes back, and it will because high-resolution perception doesn't shut down, you don't need to argue with it or wait for it to disappear before you act. You can let it be present without giving it the gavel. Think of that old familiar broadcast, that voice running through everything you missed and everything you still don't know. And treating it the way you treat a radio playing in another room. You can hear it. You can acknowledge it's on, but you don't have to sit down and take notes. You don't have to let it set the agenda. You can notice the alarm, give it a small nod, and keep your attention on what you are about to do anyway. You are allowed to act before you feel ready. You are allowed to feel fraudulent while doing something you are, in fact, qualified to do. The feeling is not a stop sign. It's just a particularly sensitive instrument humming in the background, doing what it was built to do. And you get to decide where in the room it sits. If this is the kind of scene you've been looking for, subscribe. There's more here for the part of you that's tired of mistaking a sensitive instrument for a broken one.